So let's solve this problem. How do we go about doing this? Well, the goal is we always want to get the square root by itself and then square the value. So here it's nice because it's already been the square root's by itself. So the important thing is that when you square, you get 64x squared. And on the other side, you get 1 minus 12x. So from here, again, you have three different terms. You move everything over to the one side in order to form a trinomial. This becomes 64x squared plus 12x minus 1 equals 0. And then we just factor. So this looks like it might be a little difficult. Okay, I know the back side is 1 and 1 because only 1 times 1 is 1. The front side, my instinct is to say 8x and 8x, but I know that that is not going to work because they're the same, and so it's either 0 or 16. So it's not going to be 8x, 8x. So we got to figure out what times what is 64. And when you add and subtract, you get 12. So again, what I like to do is take 64, break it down. Now, we can do this like such. Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 2 to the 6. In time, you're going to want to memorize that 64 is 2 to the 6. I think that makes your life easier. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, what I want is such that the difference is 12. So I got to figure out some combination of multiplying these numbers together that gives me 12. So let's see here. So that's 8. That would be 8 and 8. I don't want to do that. That's what I just did. So let's try 16 and 4. The 16, this is 16, this is 4. If I subtract, I get 12. Boom. There we go. So I said 16 and 4, so 16x and 4x. And I want a positive 12, so I need the bigger one to be positive and the smaller one to be negative. So what I'm saying here is this gives me 16x, this gives me negative 4. 16 minus 4 is 12. Again, you don't have to do this. You can literally just play with the numbers. So you could try, say 8 and 8 didn't work, so maybe I'll try 16 and 4 and see if it works. And if that doesn't work, then maybe I do 2 and 32, etc., etc. So just you're picking numbers. What times what gives me 64. I like to do this because it's a visual aid to help me to see what are the combinations, because it has to be some combination of the prime factors. Okay. Now that I have that, I have 16x minus 1 equals 0, 4x plus 1 equals 0, and then I solve. So x is going to equal to 1 over 16, and x equals negative 1 over 4. Last thing I do is I check to make sure that it works. So remember, the original equation is 8x equals 1 minus 12x. So I'm going to plug in 16. That's going to be 8, 1 over 16. 1 minus 12 times 1 over 16. So again, just to be clear here, x is 1/16. I'm just substituting in. You have to check to make sure it works for both values. So if I solve over here, 8 over 16 is 1/2. And this leaves me square root 1. 12 and 16 are both divisible by 4. So this leaves me with 3/4. So you guys know if you subtract 3/4, 3/4 is 75 cents. So $1 minus 75 cents is 25 cents, which is 1/4. And when you take the square root of 1/4, you get 1/2. Essentially, I'm taking the square root of 1 over the square root of 4. 1 is 1, 4 is 2. So that's true. And we're going to rework it. Let me just rewrite it. Sorry for being all over the place. Let me just rewrite it over here. 8x equals 1 minus 12x. The original equation, I did 1 over 16, so now I'm going to do negative 1/4. We'll do that in blue. So 8 times negative 1/4 equals square root 1 minus 12 times negative 1/4. And you have to do this. I'm not doing this just to be thorough. You actually have to check it. I already know, I don't even need to go beyond this because we're taking the square root. There's no way the square root's going to be negative, so this one's not going to work. So negative 1/4 is not going to work. Hopefully that made sense. You're taking the square root, so it's not going to come out as a negative. And something to stress here, it's giving you the square root, so it's not plus or minus. Okay? If they didn't give you, if you are taking the square root, so you are performing the action of doing the square root, then you put the plus or minus. But if the problem already is written with the square root, then it doesn't imply that you have a plus or minus, unless the problem originally has a plus or minus in it. So there is only one value that works here, and that is 1/16. Hopefully that makes sense. See you next video.